Any Given Sunday. Feels good to be back from China. Didn't have full access to pretty much anything, but also had another tournament when I got here, hence the little stuffiness in the nose, so hopefully that doesn't come through too much. Anywho, who cares about me? Week 13 was super exciting. Our league's coming down to the strokes. In fact, if you haven't looked in a while, getting pretty tight, especially at the top of the table. Let's not get ahead of it. NFL stuff, then our league, then we can take a look at the table. Craziest thing about last week wasn't just that I wasn't able to record while I was in China, it's that I recorded this part in my classroom before I left thinking, well, worst case scenario, I'll get on Yahoo. I heard it was not on the banned list yet. And then it was, and I really struggled just to start my lineup, so there was what it was. Anyway, we're back. Week 13 was super entertaining, but not always for the reasons I thought it was going to be. We do seem to have now our kind of powerhouses, and again, I didn't pick these ones out of the lineup, but it did make me think a little bit. If the Patriots and the Bears are our 1 seeds, is there a chance that the schedules just have gone a bit too far? I mean, it seems like every week, not that I'm cheering for the Bills and the Chiefs or the Eagles, but they're playing like the Monstars from Space Jam, and I feel like the Patriots just get the Titans every third week. I know that's not 100% true, and it's just a soft spot in especially the Bears schedule, but I don't know. Do we really want always the mediocre teams to climb up? The answer is maybe, or maybe they're not mediocre. And the wonderful thing about the schedule is we get to find out starting today. The Packers have owned, well, Rodgers will say it's him, have owned the Bears. I think it's like 16 out of the last 17 they've taken from them. But to be honest with you, at this point in the year, for the last couple years, the Bears have already been in tank mode, so I don't really know if that's an accurate stat. Now we have a team that's coached really well, runs the ball, and just apparently never turns it over against the Packers, who need the win way more than the Bears do. And I think they play them twice still. That's another one that's been kind of sticky. A lot of the divisional matchups really weighted, so you've got some that are super interesting, like the South, and I mean, the Colts look great, and I said this last week that I thought they were going to struggle with Houston, and now they have the Jags, so yeah, they came out to that hot start, but if they don't keep going, it could be kind of rocky. And the Jags I don't take seriously, but they seem to just get turnovers when they need them. And Daniel Jones only has one healthy leg. He has a broken leg, and they're just acting like it's okay. Like, he'll be fine. Will he, or is this like an ESPN 30 for 30 that's going to be made in 6 years about how we actually just saw someone's leg fall off in the middle of the game? The North is kind of the same situation. They're all playing each other. And AFC, I should say. NFC is doing fine. None of them are any good, and one of them have to make the playoffs. I mean, Pittsburgh, I can't believe it, but Rodgers is going to do the impossible, not just look like the homeless caddy from Happy Gilmore 1. I hate that I had to say Happy Gilmore. Can we pretend Happy Gilmore 2 just didn't happen? Good, move on. But actually, he might get Mike Tomlin fired, not just because Steeler Nation is posting really funny predictions about what's about to happen than it does, but he's kind of turned their offense into and their defense was always kind of except for their pass rusher. But like I said, Baltimore, super thankful that everyone was too fat, lazy, and drunk to actually watch their game last week, because if so, I think we'd be panicking. And speaking of health, I just don't think Lamar is. I mean, if he is, then he definitely was not worth the draft pick that people took him for. Well, I guess we'll see a little bit more as these things start to kind of even out, and we're going to get some pretty pivotal matchups. We get to see who's what and if the tush can be repushed. But regardless, I think football is important to us. But let's be honest, the fact that this is going into week 14, we might care about fantasy just a little bit more, just a little bit more. So let's get on to results, and so we can start looking ahead to what these playoffs are going to start to look like. What we're going to find this week is very few teams actually went over their predicted, so Paul was a pretty good team and pretty good score. Being this far over is actually quite a rarity. He was our number 1 scorer on the week, and he had his downsides as well, but his high were pretty high here. He had the quarterback 1 in Mahomes, tight end 2. Unfortunately, we can look at his bench here. I believe he's got, there he is. Who would have thought? Quarterback 3 on the week, Mariota. Can't blame you for putting him down here. Actually, Taylor 2 was just outside the top 5. But obviously, Purdy, you got to go with your name, so no blame there. But I think one of the biggest differences we're going to find, and even if we look over the corner here, we see his down players weren't that down. Whereas when we flip the coin, and a lot of us had this, I mean, you're going to have weeks where both of these guys might be sniffing the top 5. That is not this week. Zay in the negatives and JSM with his worst performance of the year. Guess you got to get it all out in the same week. Now, In Jim's credit, he did have two number twos. Vidal was the running back 2, Jacksonville was the defense 2, and looking at the bench, a few points, but nothing that really would have helped him out. He was well below predicted. Paul was going to make a statement. He wants that first round bye. Jim now, it's just a fight to be in the playoffs. Two more teams on the complete flip side of the coin. Well had at a low predicted and didn't manage to hit it. The other one, again, Michael, good job. Well over yours, got the win. Third spot. We're going to look at the standings in a minute and just see just how cemented some of these spots are. But as we're taking a look, I mean, again, kind of consistency, but for you, definitely more of a running back based thing. You had the running backs 3 and 4. You also had the quarterback 5 in Dax. Looking at your bench, actually, you didn't make the best defensive call. I had New England here, who was also the defense 5. On the flip side of that coin, where are we looking here? We did have Travis Kelce down here. He was the tight end 5. And moving up a little bit further, weirdly enough, Bryce Young, huge performance, quarterback 4. So Thielen Breezy's got some promise, but with 73, you're not going to beat a whole lot of people. Speaking of not going to be able to beat a whole lot of people, I kind of put myself in a pretty rough spot here too. So Ernie McCracken got his number 1 seed held by just being pretty close to predicted, which actually, considering Lamar's performance, overall, that's pretty good. Richie Rice certainly helped you out. He was the wide receiver 3, but let's be honest, the number 1 scoring entity in week 13 was the Seattle defense. So that kind of capped it off for you. Made up for the fact that your running backs didn't quite do what they normally do for you. On the bench, I mean, good job benching Cousins. Maybe me, not so much benching Nicks, although I did have the QB2 in Love. He was kind of my shining star here. And hey, Burrow came back. So that's pretty good for me. Would have been nice to have a running back to actually, run and a wide receiver that caught. But hey, beggars can't be choosers, right? In a battle for second floor middle school supremacy, we didn't quite have the matchup we thought we were going to have. It looked like it was supposed to be flip-sided. House of Gibbs didn't really do what it was supposed to do, and that's on Thanksgiving of all things. That's just outrageous. Actually, if you look down Kevin's team, had some people do all right, but nobody cracking the top 5. Even his bench just had one of those weeks. Now, granted, some people more than others. Justin Jefferson has just been a killer when he's off. Speaking of the wide receiver that I normally say is a killer, A.J. Brown went the other direction this week, and Jake's going to be pretty pumped about that. That was the wide receiver 1 performance. Also got a running back 5 performance there, so that was something that he probably wasn't expecting. Overall, over-predicted, like I say, was going to win you most weeks, and this one going to be pretty pivotal with Kevin just trying to fight for that spot and Jake trying to get his way in. In the craziest finish, anytime you get down to within a point or so, and especially, Will, you got to be kicking yourself. The injury was just one you could not come back from. If we take a look, there were a few people from each of you that definitely got on the board. Here you're looking mainly your tight end 1, which is pretty exceptional, and the running back 1. So it looks like for Will, it was either the have or the have-nots. Even to lose a point, essentially playing nobody would have got you so much closer. Now, you didn't have a backup defense, so you can't really blame, but let's just go ahead soon. Anybody would have been better. Buffalo defense, number 3 overall, so this didn't have to be as close as it was, although I don't blame you. It's not like Denver's looking that weak anytime. You would have thought Washington, they would have eaten up Mariota. They just didn't. Jameson Williams, though, was the wide receiver, too, so you got to be pretty happy with that. Pitt's getting what he get. Again, pretty happy with that. Overall, like I said, you could hit your predicted. You were probably going to win. One of you did, and one of you didn't. Look at the hecticness that is our table, the top spot. So we do not have a guaranteed walk to the top 2. Do remember in the 6 format, the top 2 get a bye straight to the semifinals, where 3 through 6 have to fight it out. Now, it looks like 8, 9, 10, we know where we're at, and we don't have a whole lot of chance to move up, but Jake sure does. He's got a shot to try and punch through. He's got down a few points here from Kevin, but certainly Jim here, that puts it in a pretty tough spot. So let's look at matchups. Now, it would be perfect if we could just manicure it and they could play each other. But in this particular case, they're fighting other people to try and fight each other. So Jake's trying to stay alive with the Motor City dudes, whereas Jim's got to take down Kevin. Right now, looking at predicteds, neither one are getting what they're looking for, except for Kevin, realistically. And on the other side of that coin, 1 and 4, 2 and 3 playing each other. So essentially, win, you get a bye. Lose, you got to play for the quarters. I'm not sure we could have planned it much better, except we could have had the 6-7 go after each other and the winners in, the losers out. But I love the fact that the top 4 are going to battle it out. Win, you get the bye. Lose, you got to deal with the quarters. I mean, it's week 14, fantasy football. What else could you ask for? Best of luck, everybody.